Welcome, number 5, Shaheda Govani, to the stage, please. Quarter turn to the right. As I walked out onto the fitness competition stage and looked out at the audience, I could feel the hot, bright white lights beaming down. I could see the judges staring up, and I wondered, would my hard work pay off? Was my posing fluid, my symmetry on point? Had I kept enough muscle mass dieting down for the fitness competition? As I began my posing routine and hit my first poses, could the judges see I was so nervous? I was literally shaking with adrenaline, my lips quivering, my teeth chattering. I was just in that space. What may surprise you to know is that I do natural bikini bodybuilding. When I was up on the stage, the first thing I was thinking about the entire time was, would my very tiny bikini stay in place where the swimsuit glue guaranteed it would stay? Or would I become the next social media sensation to go viral? Indian bodybuilder swimsuit mishap. It was my true fear in that moment. What may surprise you to know is that I do bodybuilding. I'm a bikini competitor, and I do it naturally. Natural meaning no fat burners, steroids, or diuretics. One may think bodybuilding, I must be after the pursuit of perfection. But it's quite the opposite. I love to embrace uncomfortable spaces and embrace being imperfect. I love to compete, and I feel empowered by lifting heavy weight. A bit about me is I'm an entrepreneur and a healthcare worker. I'm a dentist, and I own my own private practice. I come from humble beginnings. My father came here as a refugee and couldn't read or write English. My mother was a single parent and raised me the best she could. She is literally the most resilient, strong person I know. As an infant, I was raised and grew up on WIC check, which in Wisconsin is formula assistance for poor families. When my father left us, we moved in with my grandparents to help make ends meet. My family's struggles and challenges have empowered me and inspired me to outwork any obstacle or challenge that's come my way. Fall of 23, for my 40th birthday, I had the goal of becoming a natural bikini professional bodybuilder. The reason I wanted to go pro versus stay an amateur is because I felt it would help legitimize my love of the sport to those around me. I wanted people to see this wasn't just a silly hobby or something I did on Saturday mornings, but truly my passion. Leading into this goal took a lot of work. You see, as a natural bodybuilder without any steroids, it takes literally years to gain muscle on your frame. So times of dieting down and doing smaller shows, and times of long off seasons to gain muscle and fat back. Powerlifting, like you saw in the picture, block training, bulking, things of that nature. And then leading into the show. The posing practice, the shoes, they may look sexy, but they're not comfortable. And it can make or break you in a show. And then let's talk food. The preparing of the food, the weighing of the food, the logging of the food, and then lastly, not eating much food as you diet down the last 6 or 9 months. It can be mentally and physically extremely grueling, all while working my 9 to 10 hour days in healthcare. In this moment, I manifested the heck out of my goal. I felt I left nothing on the table. Every step, every posing practice, every cardio and workout, I was getting after it. I left no rock unturned. In this moment, I loved the grind and embraced it. And you better believe every meal got eaten. In this moment, I liked myself. And guess what? I didn't win. Not even close. I did not become a professional bodybuilder. Sometimes after doing a show and not winning, I'm so frustrated. I'm like sitting in a place where I feel so uncomfortable and frustrated. I think, this is nuts. It's time to move on to a different goal, a new bucket list, greener pastures. But then time passes, days, weeks, months, and I sit in that space, and I still like myself. This last time not winning was really tough. I had wanted it so badly. I remember sitting in our car in the parking lot after the last show of that competition season and seeing people walk past with their trophies and their medals, the pro card winner that beat me walking past. And I said to my husband, I feel icky. I'm so frustrated in this moment because I wanted it so badly. I've trained for years and I didn't win. I'm not a pro, I'm not the best, and I didn't win. I feel gross. About halfway through the 5-hour car ride home, I said to my husband, you know what? I'm glad I didn't win. And he's like, really? You're glad you didn't win? Tell me more. In this moment, my husband Neil, I think he was concerned that we had a carbohydrate-induced euphoria. You see, it had been the first time I had had Culver's or dessert in like 9 months. It wasn't the mushroom Swiss burger talking, you guys. I was truly okay with not winning because it meant that there was still work to be had and grind to sit in. Even without the outward acknowledgement of a trophy or an accolade, I can sit in that space and be okay with it because I love it, right? It's my thing, it's my passion, and I want to do it again and again because I love bodybuilding and I love to compete. But the bigger thing is, I actually love sitting in these uncomfortable scenarios where sometimes I fail and many times I'm not the best. Because every time I learn something so profound about myself. That last competition season was no exception. I learned profound life lessons that are just so important. So even in that space, I still liked myself, even if it felt quite terrible. In an achievement-based society where we're told that being the best, being number one, getting the last word in, and being the winner is so important, what if we looked at having that lens flipped, and instead we embrace our failures in an achievement-based society? Sitting there in your seat today, can you think of a time that you didn't win, you didn't get the last word in, potentially you were wrong? Did you feel vulnerable or embarrassed? Did you feel kind of uncomfortable or like I felt gross? I want you to sit and think about those feelings while I talk with you today. When I'm not doing bodybuilding, my other joy and passion in my life is my career of dentistry. I love going to work, and I feel so honored that I love my job. At this point, you may be thinking, wow, this chick is weird. Bodybuilding and dentistry? Are we talking some kind of masochist or sadist on our hands? Drilling away, the tooth bits flying in her hair. Bodybuilding and beating herself in the basement bodybuilding gym? It really is in the basement. But in all actuality, I don't like to cause pain, nor do I like to be in discomfort. But the two have a ton in common. In both bodybuilding and dentistry, people are sitting in spaces of uncomfort, and they're remarkable. Both require a lot of attention to detail. In bodybuilding, we're talking things like the symmetry, the muscle composition, the definition. It can make or break you in a show. In dentistry, we're talking the thinness of hair can sometimes be felt or at least perceived for a patient. The way they feel their bite, the way the midline lines up or feels it looks, or the thaw or the sounds of a length of a tooth. It is remarkable what our bodies can do and what our bodies can perceive. In both bodybuilding and dentistry, I see people sitting and embracing vulnerability, hardships, imperfections, and they're strong and they're brave. In bodybuilding, I have met remarkable humans. From the 20-year-old with an open heart surgery scar, the cancer survivor after double mastectomy, the handicapped competitor in a wheelchair, the military veteran missing a limb. These are just a few examples of remarkable people sitting outside of hardship and challenge and still showing up. They still grind, and they are authentically remarkable. Sure, there have been jerks along the way in both bodybuilding and healthcare, because let's face it, not everyone likes to see others succeed, and not everyone likes to see others still like themselves. But for the most part, the people I've met in bodybuilding and dentistry are people of true grit and tenacity. By virtue of my profession, people are afraid of me. Sometimes I'll be at like a restaurant or a grocery store, and I'll see a patient I greatly admire, and I'll kind of smile. And sometimes people can be downright rude. I've literally seen people physically recoil when they see me. Sometimes I have to really remind myself, right? Like, this is not about me. People are on their own journeys. The narrative that some people have with themselves related to their oral health care, it runs deep. Some people have embarrassment, the way they feel, or even shame about their health related to their teeth. For some, when they look in the mirror, what they see, the way their teeth look, feel, or function, that's a really deep narrative about how they feel as a person. When patients show up to work with me, they literally are in a place of vulnerability, physically. They're letting me lay them back and stick sharp tools in their mouth. The sounds, the smells, the vibrations of dentistry, these things can be highly triggering for some people. For some patients, they've had a trauma that has nothing to do with me. For them to walk in my door or even pull in my parking lot, it takes all of their courage. For me, I'm inspired by my patients because they show up. They sit in embarrassment, vulnerability, and imperfection on a daily basis. They show up and do the hard work and the grind, and they leave better off for it. With a renewed sense of confidence, out of pain, or a happier smile, it's awesome. Bodybuilding and dentistry push me so far out of my comfort zone. It's awesome because I love it. I love to be pushed into uncomfortable scenarios because I thrive doing hard things. And I believe the same can be true for everyone. Let's think of a world in which we look in the mirror and think, I could have done better today. In a society that embraces achievement-based wins, what if we embrace our imperfections and our vulnerabilities and our failures and get excited about it? That's a completely different mindset. Even if we want to win or be the best, sometimes it's not in the cards. Sometimes someone else deserves a win more than we do. And frankly, sometimes someone's just better. It's about being okay to sit in that space and think, I didn't win, I didn't get the last word in, I'm not number one, and guess what? I was completely wrong. And be excited to grow from that. To me, that's the number one biggest win. I like to ask myself questions like, did I do my best today? Could I have been more empathetic, a better leader? Did I have to get that last word in or interrupt someone? Oftentimes the answer is, I didn't do that today. I'm not talking about a place of self-loathing or hatred, nothing of that nature. I'm talking about taking a true personal inventory and doing away with complacency. My love for embracing challenge and uncomfortable did not happen overnight. It has been a slow, incremental grind over years. It started out with things like going to dinner at a place I didn't want to eat, or sharing space and time with someone that I didn't agree with their values or at least understand. Over time, it's led to other things, such as going to a movie by myself or to dinner by myself, or even traveling out of state all by myself. At one point or another, those topics would have been so uncomfortable and unbearable, but over time, they've become easier, little by little, and now I do other hard things. Imagine if we all do one thing a day that makes us uncomfortable, feels unfamiliar, a little uneasy. We step out of our comfort zone and like ourselves a little less, such as try out for a TEDx talk if you're terrified of public speaking. It's literally why I'm here. I'm terrified of public speaking. Or hey, make a small fitness goal. Or rather, what about the idea? Make that dental appointment you've been putting off. What if, little by little, these small incremental changes had huge impact? The examples I use here today are small scale because that's where it starts. But at least in my experience, it has led to huge, profound impact on my mental, physical, and emotional well-being. It is the most beautiful thing that I can articulate to you. Sure, sitting in that complacency and comfort zone would have been way easier than getting after that grind I'm talking to you about. But taking that personal inventory and liking myself less has been impactful and beautiful. In the words of Ray Dalio, struggle well. Get all the joy you can out of life. What if, by embracing our imperfections, we can grow into the next versions of ourselves? So next time you feel embarrassed or vulnerable, embrace it. Smile about it. Get excited that you can grow from it. If I can urge you to do one thing, do something that makes you feel uncomfortable. Explore your own imperfections. Sit in the icky. In a world of self-love and self-acceptance, like yourself less. There's way more out there for each and every one of us. The best is yet to come.